Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker. And on this show, we always have amazing leaders and just incredible strategists on this show to help you to do just that, to take back your time. And that means to work smarter, not harder. And today is certainly no exception with Lee Cockerell. He's a retired executive vice president of operations for the Walt Disney World Resort in Lake Buena Vista, Florida, a position that he held for 10 years. His responsibilities encompassed a diverse mix of operations, which included 20 resort hotels with 24,000 guest rooms, right? That's a lot. 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, 5 golf courses, and a partridge in a pear tree. Shopping village, and a night complex, an ESPN sport complex. So we're talking a pretty serious magnitude that Lee was responsible for. And he joined Disney in 1990 as Director of Food and Beverage and Quality Assurance for the Disney Paris hotels. And prior to that, he was an executive with the Marriott Corporation for 8 years with Hilton Hotels. He's also the best-selling author of 4 books on leadership, management, and world-class customer service. So Lee is going to bring you an incredible amount of value from his experience. So listen up, get a pen out, and here's Lee.
Hey there. Thank you. That was great.
So Lee, I don't even know where to start. You've got so much wonderful experience. Just maybe tell us what's your backstory? Why are you so passionate about, I know you talk about time management, magic, and, leadership, customer service. What motivates you to be so passionate in that area?
Well, I started out very young in the business. I went to college for 2 years, but forgot to go to class. So I went in the Army after I flunked out, and I learned a lot about discipline there. And then I got a job at the Washington Hilton up on Connecticut Avenue in D.C., up there where John Hinckley shot President Reagan back in the 80s. I worked there for several years, and I learned about service, and I happened to have a good mentor who took me by the hand and taught me the business because I knew nothing. And I got, I guess, that early exposure to working in a great place where high expectations were there for you to perform at a high level. And, you're better to probably develop when you're young, your philosophy and ideas and attitude about taking care of people. And I did, and I worked for Hilton 8 years in Washington, D.C., Chicago, Waldorf Astoria in New York, Los Angeles, joined Marriott, spent 17 years with them, and Philadelphia, Chicago, Washington, Boston, all over the place.
All over.
Got recruited by Disney in 1990 to open Disneyland Paris, and went there for 3 years, and then I came back to Orlando, and by then, I guess they thought I knew what I was doing, so they put me in charge of all the operations in Orlando, and I did that for 10 years, and then I retired, and now I go around talking about it, writing books about it, and I'm particularly interested in education with high school, middle school students, and healthcare, working in those areas a lot because
Fantastic.
There's a lot to be done there.
Fantastic. Well, tell us, what is, as it relates to, let's say, time management or any other key leadership point, what was the one thing that really influenced you the most as a young, you said you were mentored and you got some great mentor. What was one of the great lessons that you learned?
Well, I think I suffered from compulsiveness, so I always wanted to get everything done. But I didn't really have a system for how to accomplish it, I was kind of bashful about raising my hand to take on more responsibility, or maybe insecurity from the way I grew up in a kind of a dysfunctional family of being insecure. So I wasn't sure I could do things. And I went to this time management seminar. It lasted for 2 days, about 1980. And I learned, I sat on the front row and I sucked it all in, and I learned a system for carrying out the things I wanted to get done. And slowly but surely, I learned that if I would follow this and think about what I was going to do today, this week, this month, this year, and write it down and open it up every morning, take a look at what I thought I wanted to do, and then kind of do it. I started checking them off, and It's a special feeling you get when you accomplish something. And I like to check it off in red pen
Well,
because
yeah,
red
it's
makes you feel
dopamine.
super.
It's dopamine. It's going right up there, going ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, and when you're able to get things done, that's exactly right. Your self-confidence gets better. You
Absolutely.
believe in yourself. You start to get a lot of accolades from people saying, so thank you so much. Thank you. You do great work. You're reliable. You're credible. You keep your promises. I'm going like, wow, this is
I
good
want
stuff.
more of that, right?
Yeah. So I started really practicing and studying it and thinking about it and learning new ways to do it. And then I started teaching it. Let me tell you, if you want to learn something, I've taught time management for 35 years. I've got it inside me. I don't need a book to teach it from. I don't need a manual. And you get really good at it. And when you become an expert in something, people want you to come and help them, because that's what I tell young people. Become an expert in something and decide what it's going to be, and you will be it if you focus on it every day. And it'll always give you a backup.
Absolutely.
If things don't work out the way you want them to, but if you're an expert in something, you can always go back and do that. So I know I can be a good waiter, so I can always go back and do that and make cash tips. But yeah, that's how I started focusing. And people said, why were you so crazy about time management? I said, well, probably compulsiveness, but I have this deep fear of failure. So I wanted to make sure nobody ever criticized me. I don't take criticism very well. I'm still working on that. My wife is trying to train me to get over it and quit being so defensive. I cover
it's just
it up.
feedback. It's just feedback, not criticism, just feedback.
I cover it up pretty well these days.
I'm sure you do. Now I know that Disney has a very interesting and different approach. I've talked to some other people, not through an interview, but just met some different people, and they said they have, some different approaches to time management. So, what would you say is the secret at Disney to how they managed time for the organization?
Yeah, well, I think anybody that works for Disney, when you first join there, they give you a pretty big orientation and time spent making sure the expectations for performance are very clear. There's a lot of expectations that you get. Clarity. I guess it's clarity. It's kind of like your mother when she said, be home by 11 or else.
You know the rules.
Yeah, clarity. And that's what you know, the rules. The responsibilities are big because our guests are saving their money for years to come there.
That's right.
They have huge expectations, and we don't want to fail them because we may have the most promised product in the world when you think about kids 4 and 6 and 8 and 12 years old, and they're coming to meet Cinderella and Mickey. I mean, it's real. And so we work hard at making sure we can do what we say we're going to do and promises, and you got to be organized to do that. You got to we don't open late, we don't run out of food,
right.
We're organized, and that takes good time management skills and good organizational skills to make sure that you can do it. And we're busy, 52 million guests a year, 80,000 cast members working in Orlando. You got to have your act together. And
you have to have systems and support structures to make it work. For people who are listening, I want to step back, because just the point that you said that they spend a lot of time setting expectations in the beginning of performance. I mean, people don't often think, that's not really time management. Yes, it is. The time that we spend preparing and making sure that we're communicating effectively, right? So when your staff knows clearly what their role is, what's expected of them, it makes all the difference in having things run smoothly, and how you want them to interact with each other and give them some of the tools. How that is time well spent up front. I can tell you just a real quick funny story. So my boyfriend just joined an organization, like, I guess it's been 2.5 months now. So this organization was so disorganized that it took him a month to get the laptop, because they had all of their people work remotely. It took a month to get his laptop and to get him actually a login into the laptop. There was no job description. I mean, this is crazy. And this is actually a very large company. No job description, and nobody, he had 3 bosses, and none of them took any time until 2 months after he was there to meet with him, even after he sent emails of, please tell me what my role is. I mean, this guy wants to work, and and it's not working. So
Well,
that
that's
is
very
important.
common, by the way. That is not unusual, but I can tell you when you arrive at Disney, your laptop's on your desk. It's
Hmm.
already programmed. Everything's there. You meet with the staff. We have what we call a new leader transition. Everybody's in the room. You tell them about how you work, what's important to you. They get to know you, about your family, everything they know about you by the end of the first day.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, when you do the right things up front, a lot of things never happen to waste your time. You know,
That is so true.
I tell people if you exercise, you don't have to get a bypass surgery. That takes time to get bypass surgery.
Right.
So it's just it's a lot of people don't think about it because they don't teach it in high school and college. They don't really talk about this concept of if you do things now, focus on your priorities now, they'll pay off later, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And we don't like to do long-term things. We like to do now.
Right. Quick fix, get that instant gratification. So,
Yeah.
how do you teach someone discipline? You said you went to you went into the Army, and you learned discipline from a young age. That is a key piece of personal time management and focusing on what's most important. What's a tip there that you can help people with when they're struggling with self-discipline?
Well, at the age we're hiring people at Disney and even Marriott, we had a very good screening system, a good profiling system, because I don't think you are going to be too successful teaching people discipline. You need to hire people that have discipline and that are, I tell everybody, the most two important things I believe as a leader or a parent is empathy and discipline.
Mm.
Those two things is how you get it done. So we hire people that can show us that they're well organized. We have questions about that. How do you plan your day? How do you make sure crisis doesn't happen? And people will take us through that and explain to us how they think about it. If you ask me how I plan my day, it's like going through the checklist. There's
Right.
no doubt in your mind when I finish telling you that this guy has his act together. And other people say, well, I just come in. If something happens, I try to take care of. It's like,
Oh yeah, it's you can definitely tell. But
but
we
if
do
you
have a
hire
lot
the
of
right,
entrepreneurs on listening, right? Not just business owners who have teams, but people who might be solo entrepreneurs. And so, do you have one thing that you learned for yourself that helped you with that discipline? Even though
yeah.
I 100% agree, hire people who already have it. But what if I'm online and I don't have it? How could you help me?
I would say make sure you got some kind of planner. If you can use your phone, great. But I love my phone, of course, but I also have a paper planner. And I would say every day, take 5 minutes in the morning to think about yesterday, what you didn't do so well, the contract you screwed up, the person you talked to and forgot to tell them 3 important things. Just go through yesterday and try to go back and fix yesterday before you start today. And then second, you think about the responsibilities you signed up for, whether it's your boyfriend or your spouse or your children or your health or your career. What courses do you need to take this year? What exercise? Taking care of aging parents and grandparents. You need to think about the things you personally have signed up for in your life that you didn't really sign up, but they are your responsibility.
Right.
And then you start asking yourself, am I putting enough time against those things? Can I find those in my planner? Do I have a plan to talk to my daughter about school or about boys or about, do I have in my schedule, can I find a couple of days a week that I exercise and do strength training? Or have I got an appointment to sit down and talk to my parents how they want things handled, or my grandparents? And
Right.
once you list your priority or the things you're responsible for, it's a longer list than you think, because a lot of it you're not ready for yet. Things that you're going to need your retirement. You're not thinking about that now. People are thinking about it about 2 weeks before they retire and find out they didn't get it together. So that's how I think about it. I wrote the book about time management. It's called Time Management Magic, and it kind of lays it out. List all the kind of responsibilities we have in life. Having dinner with your children, that pays off later when you don't have to visit them in prison or in rehab or get them a lawyer or a psychiatrist.
Yes.
So that's thinking about your impact now. And most people don't want to do it. And the main thing you got to focus on is, are you working on the hard things? everybody knows the 2 or 3 hard things they've been putting off for years. And I tell people, think about them. You know what they are. Could be a relationship. It could be going back to school. It could be having a hard conversation with somebody. It could be making a hard decision. But if you don't do the hard things, life gets harder. And you got to get used to doing it, because it'll bite you. It'll bite you hard, and time goes by quick. It'll be Christmas again, and it'll be New Year's again, and it'll be your birthday again, and you'll go, what happened? Yeah. And
because we kind of do that ostrich thing, and we stick our head in the sand, and we just pretend like, we don't need to focus on that. And, we eat the apple pie instead of the apple, and we drink soda instead of water. And then we wonder why we're 50 pounds heavier, right?
And time is not on your side. It's passing by pretty quick. The future is going to be here in about 1 second. So
there it is.
So you got to really think more. People got to think about it. You got to, as they say, if you don't take the time to plan the life you want, you're going to spend a lot of time living a life you don't want.
Absolutely.
And this is what happens to most people. They're living a life they don't want. They're not doing anything about it. And they get miserable, and then they get out unhealthy, and then they have financial problems, and then it goes from bad to worse.
And it's so easy, right? I mean, all we need to do is to take a step back and take, like you said, if you regularly spend 5 to 10 minutes in the morning and then in the evening, just to kind of sum up and see where you are, and then maybe once a quarter or something like that, do a deeper thought. Like you said, just give yourself time to think. We don't do that today, right? Because every single little space that we have is filled up. I've been really conscious about this lately, about putting my phone away. I mean, I have some principles where I don't check my email or touch my phone in the morning. And I leave that time for myself. It's a standard, it's a principle, a standard that I've set for myself. And if I touch my phone, I remind myself, put it down. Right. And we have to create those spaces for ourselves, because, if I'm waiting in line, I go onto Facebook and I'll just quickly see anything that's interesting. And what happened to just thinking and just being there without, any interaction or talking to the person in line in front of us. Right. So we do need to take back those spaces, those white spaces in our life.
And you're talking right there about, you are practicing discipline. You take time to sit and not look at your phone and think and get things, your act together. That's discipline.
I do.
And we need to think about, what should we be doing? Discipline, exercise is discipline. Reading is discipline. Going back to school is discipline. Getting ready for your retirement is discipline. That's all it is getting it done, and you get what you want. Yeah. So if you got a bad life, you must want that. So, Mr. Marriott told me, if you have flies in your restaurant, you like flies. So
that's right. Yeah. Well, you can always, no matter what it is, every day is a new day. You can wake up and step back and decide that my past is not equal to my future, and I'm going to do something different.
Never too late to get better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's the greatest advice that someone gave you?
Don't underestimate what you can do. Don't underestimate the impact you have on other people every day, for good or bad.
Right.
And I think about that a lot, of that, when I was growing up as just a young kid from Oklahoma, but then when I got these big positions, I had to quit thinking about Lee's just this good old boy from Oklahoma, that I have a job that people expect me to be responsible, pay attention, be available for them, help them, and it took me a while to learn that I have to behave, and I have to be careful what I say and do, because it may intimidate or scare people, that it's not Lee, it's the position. And right. I think we got to be cognizant of that, because a lot of people are not, and they get in a lot of trouble. Look in the paper every day. Leaders around the world getting in trouble because they're doing I guess they don't really realize the impact they're having on other people and their families and their children. And
right.
And so kind of keep that in mind every morning. Everybody's watching and judging you every second. Behave.
Right. That's right. And when they're not watching you, right? I've always, that statement that, it's when people aren't watching you, what you choose to do when nobody's watching you, that really defines who you are. And that's always stuck with me. Like,
Well, they
Because I want to
say
be that person, not just when people are watching. I want to be that person all the time. I want to be the example, whether I'm being watched or not.
that's character. They
That's
say
true.
reputation is who people think you are. Character is who you are when nobody's around.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But character takes discipline too, right? Because
Absolutely. I mean, especially for men.
Yeah. Well, for everyone, right? In different ways,
Lack of discipline gets people in more trouble than anything else in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So we need to go on some sort of a discipline campaign to help people to get their discipline back. I was just recently saying, you can assess somebody's relationship with time by one simple question. And I know your answer, but I'll ask you anyway. So do you use the snooze button when you wake up in the morning?
I do not. Actually, I don't even use an alarm.
Oh, there you go, right?
I wake up and I get up. And I don't use any technology that's unreliable. And by the way, most clocks are reliable, but somehow people say the alarm didn't go off. So I'm not sure how that works.
Well, that's our excuse mechanism, right? That always says the alarm didn't go off, or they hit snooze, right? I think it's the worst invention that could have come about. And it came about, I think they said in the 60s, with the hippie generation and it's the worst thing because it means that we start our day in resistance and with a lack of discipline. Now, that's not a great start to our day, is it?
You've heard if you snooze, you lose. So you better get up and get with it.
Yep. And I recently fell into that trap. So, my boyfriend's a snoozer. So, he moved in, he's laying next to me and he's not getting up and snoozing. So I started to snooze and I was like, stop. I just stopped myself and say, this is not acceptable. This is not who I am. Because I see it then seep into other areas of my life to make excuses or just push things off. And I'm like, that's not who I want to be. So I'm getting up.
He's teaching you bad habits. And when you hang around people like that, you become like them. So be careful.
Well, that's just one thing. Everybody gets to decide.
He's okay after he wakes up, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And we just have to decide for us, like you said, it's character and each one of us gets to define what's important for us and what defines us. I just like to share that because I want people to think about it. Like you said, that we have to think about what we do and how we show up and how that impacts us and who we want to be. And so it's something to think about.
My grandson told me when he was in college, he put the alarm clock clear on the other side of the room.
That's what I do now too.
And so, that few moments to get up.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So tell me, what else would you say are like what's the main challenge? We talked about discipline, but outside of discipline, what's the main challenge that you think people have around time management?
Oh, I think people just get in habits and think that's the way it is. People are always telling me, well, that's just the way it is. And I said, listen, let me tell you something. Nothing's the way it is. It's the way you let it be. They don't have the self-confidence that they can do something. So they kind of get in this rut and then they they start taking naps instead of doing their work. And then they stay out too late and life just goes from bad to worse. It's habits. Habits take a little while to get. If you're going to start a new habit, probably 30, 40 days, you got to do it. Exercise, when you first start it, you hate it. After a couple of months, it's easier. And it's like everything's hard before it's easy. That's what people need to understand. Everything's hard before it's easy.
Yeah.
Having a hard conversation with somebody about their performance is hard the night before. But after you do it, you feel like, wow, you feel better about yourself. And it's just this... I guess that's the main thing. And I think the bigger problem, they haven't been trained yet. They probably haven't thought about it deeply enough. Like in high school, I'm dealing with a lot of middle school, high school, and college students now teaching this course.
Oh, good. Because they don't teach that in.
No.
So where are you teaching that? Is that at a school, in a school system?
Yeah. I mean, many colleges have adopted my books as textbooks because I've kind of got a connection with them because of obviously my website and my podcast. The word gets out, as you know. So teachers, I get a lot of calls from teachers and I send them books. And and tell them to get their students thinking about it. And we developed a teacher's guide for how to teach time management. So it's already
Awesome.
programmed. They can teach it, or it's a self-guided course. They can take it themselves. And we see, I get amazing comments back. People said, I never thought of that. I never thought of doing that. I didn't realize it was that easy. You know, you only do what you have thought about, or you learn. And we got to get on. My grandkids went to a private school, and they got a planner in the 7th grade, and the school started working with them and teaching them because the school said their only goal in life was to get these kids to college and through college. And one way you get through college is go to class, sit on the front row, take notes. Don't go to your room to study because there's a bed there, and study with other people, get the environment and culture right. And that's they learn how to plan their day, because Friday comes and you're going to have a test, and they know that on Monday. And it's just hammering this into people of that you have control over this. Management's about keeping things under control. That's what management is. And most people take better care of their car than they do themselves, or their life, or their relationships, or their health. I mean, it's amazing.
I know. That is true. That is true. That is
everybody knows how to plan, because they plan their vacation with no problem.
Well, not everybody does. Some people like it to be, some people like to wing it. So, you know, not everybody plans. But what would you say, last question before, actually second to last question, and then we'll wrap up. What would you say that companies can do to take more responsibility to support their staff in, whether it's policies or training or whatever, in the area of productivity and time management?
Well, I think number one, training. You got to teach people how to do this. And I think more clarity, you know, if I tell you I need this back as soon as possible, or I tell you I need this by 5 o'clock Friday, you understand what I just said? You understand? And all of a sudden you set the environment and culture that this is real. It's not like when you get a chance, or first of the month, or later this month, or as soon as possible. Those are, I said, you know, someday is not a day of the week. It's like,
right.
And
well, and everybody's as soon as possible is different, right? So
some
that's
people,
so
it's never.
vague.
Yeah, never. And so I think those are the kind of things you got to get more clear on expectations, teaching people how to do it, helping them do it, and they'll see that they'll feel good about it when they start to get things done, because it really does inspire you to know I'm knocking it off, and it inspires you to know I can probably do anything. I may not be able to do it, but I can get an expert to help me. I always tell people I don't know how to do much, but I got people around me who do, and we get it done. I have a trainer. I wouldn't work out if I didn't have a trainer. I'd go take a nap. And I have a website guy, and I have a computer guy, and a tax accountant, and a marketing person. And I don't know how to do any of this stuff, but they do.
Right. So it takes a village.
You just got to get it done. Don't worry about who does it.
Absolutely.
If you can do it, God bless you. But if you can't, you better figure out how to get it done.
Absolutely.
Or you're going to have a bad life.
So what's your definition of productivity, and why?
Well, for me, you know, are you happy? You know, are you and your family happy? I said, if I'm happy and my wife's not happy, that's not good. If I'm happy, she's happy, my kids are doing well, everybody, then I'm doing the right things. And people don't think about productivity as spending time with their daughter on Saturday morning alone. They're being at dinner time with the kids, or putting their phones down and having a family conversation, or sitting down and talking about what college you want to go to. Those are all planning things, and getting that college fund open, and the millions of things we got to do, but we need to do them now, not a week before college starts and we find out we don't have the money.
That's
so
right.
it's that thinking about setting the priorities. What do you need to be working on today that won't pay off till later? Don't be working on it the week before. It's like term papers. Start when they give the assignment, not the night before. And and
work your way backwards. Know when the date is, and figure out what you have to do each week or each month, or to figure out how you get it there.
Just plan your life. Quit winging it.
Right.
Because it's not going to work. It will not work. Life's too busy, and there's way too much anxiety and depression today. People are really overwhelmed with everything coming at them.
Yes, they
There's
are.
a lot of anxiety in every part of life now, including college kids, high school kids.
Absolutely.
Professionals, because every employer wants more, and they want it now, and they want you to learn more and be more, and
We have to have those skills too. We have to have coping skills about, time
Absolutely.
management is part of it, but there's other kinds of skills that
Exercise.
we need. Absolutely.
Yeah. Good getting sleep, enough sleep. Those all help. And so it can be done if you want to do it.
Absolutely. So is there anything before we have people find out where they can get a hold of you? Is there anything else that you want to share that we missed?
I just might say, take the word can't out of your vocabulary and you'll find out you can have a huge impact, not only in your family, but in your life, your health, in all areas of your life. And it's a pretty short life. I said, there's only 4 ages. You're born, you're 21, you're 65, and you're dead. So you better get with it.
Because it happens like that, right?
Get moving. Yeah.
Get moving. Well, great. How can people get a hold of you, Lee?
I have a website, it's Lee Cockerell, Cockerell.com, and everything in my life's on there. There's free stuff on there if you want it. There actually was something on there called a Magic Planner. It's free if you text Magic Planner 44222, and we'll send it to you. And it'll tell you all those areas of your life you ought to at least be thinking about. Are you working on those now, or should you be? And we've gotten a lot of positive comments about that, just helping people think about the areas of their life they may not be thinking about. And there's videos on there, and all my podcasts on there, all 260 episodes. They're 15 minutes about leadership, management, and customer service. They're free. We like to give free stuff away because people like you better when you give free stuff. So one day they might buy a book. So absolutely. Yeah, that's it. That's where I put everything.
Great. Well, thank you for being here, Lee. You provided a lot of great value and experience.
Yeah, good to see you. Take care. Get organized.
And that's the tip for you guys listening. Get organized, get disciplined, and get organized. So thank you all for being here. And I'm sure you took away at least one nugget that you can think more about and take time to step back and to think about that and to really be more in control of your life. And that is Take Back Time. So this is Take Back Time. That's what you're listening to. And my name is Penny Zanker, and we'll see you in the next episode.